Welcome back to this week's Football Talks podcast. I'm your host Mustafa. Thank you for tuning in again. Please check out our website www.futboltalks.net. That's futboltalks.net. So football spelled the Spanish way. We're also on Facebook. Just search for Football Talks, and we're on Twitter at FootballTalksNet. We also post these videos on YouTube. Search for futboltalks.net. This week on the show, we are going to be discussing Champions League, and for the first time, we're going into European football. So we're going to discuss the big match of the week, which was Dortmund versus Madrid. Then we're going to talk about the big match on the weekend in the Premier League, which was Tottenham versus Manchester City. And then we're going to finish off talking about a couple of managers. We're going to talk, of course, it's the Jose Mourinho sack watch update. And then we're going to talk about big fat Sam Allardyce and his ridiculous entrapment of big fat Sam Allardyce by the so-called journalists at the Telegraph. They're not journalists, it's a joke. But anyway, we'll get into that. This week on the show, we are joined by Tarier Ekine and Mohammed. We're going to jump into the first topic, Dortmund versus Madrid. This is the first Champions League game we're discussing. So, why don't we go ahead and start off with Dortmund. What did you see that you liked from them? This is a new team. They added Schürrle, they added the prodigy Dembele, and they look really threatening. Royce, again, is still injured, but they look threatening nevertheless. What do you see about Dortmund, and how do you see them as a contender for the Champions League this year? Are they good enough?
I don't think Dortmund will challenge for the Champions League. I just don't think they're one of the top squads. I think Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man Utd, those are PSG, maybe not in the current PSG. Those are kind of teams really challenging, but I definitely think they can get out in terms of the knockout stages, get out of this group, and maybe get to a quarterfinals or possibly semifinals. That would be a good achievement for them. But in terms of their play, they were excellent in terms of the play when they're buzzing around. Great atmosphere within the stadium as it was in Dortmund. Dembele was definitely exciting. He really linked up with Aubameyang. He also looked very threatening. So I definitely think Dortmund definitely say that they definitely covered Madrid in terms of that. They had problems moving the ball around and getting any kind of rhythm to their game. So Dortmund was definitely closing down and pressing them. I don't think Madrid had really seen that kind of press in a while. They're definitely uncomfortable. There were stages where they definitely got comfortable. They would move the ball around. Obviously, they did cut them apart, especially when Ronaldo's first goal. But definitely Dortmund was definitely very threatening.
Yeah, they played well. It was a good game. They added a lot of players. They obviously added Götze as well. He came back into their team. He played up in the middle. I thought they looked good, man. They always gonna have an advantage at home because they probably have the best fans, the best home fans in the world. And they really get behind the team and provide that momentum and that push. But they have quality players. I don't think they could win the Champions League. They're kind of in that second tier of teams, with teams like my team, Arsenal, that realistically aren't really going to win it, but they can beat anyone on their day. It was a good game. Madrid, we've all seen since Casemiro's been injured, they've really struggled. They've had pretty bad form. And it's interesting, we all saw Madrid didn't have a big summer this summer in terms of the spending and bringing in players in. And he's one of the few guys in the team where they don't have a replacement for. And we've said before with those guys, we said, I think, last season, the season before, we spoke about that Modric Kroos center midfield and whether it could work. At the moment, it's not really working. They're missing someone in there. So someone's going to have to sacrifice their game and maybe be a little more disciplined and look for glory a little less to make it work. But the problem with Madrid is because everyone's being brought in to be Galacticos and for big money, the pressure on them is to really show their worth, their skill and flamboyance. And a guy like Casemiro didn't come in with a big reputation, didn't come in for big money. So he's happy to do a disciplined job in there. So if Zidane now is up to these man management skills that they keep talking about that he supposedly has, he's got to convince someone in there to come to sacrifice their game. And maybe the two guys have to sacrifice a bit of their game for the good of the team.
Yeah, I thought Götze was really poor in this game. He's not the player that he was at Dortmund. He hasn't been that guy. I think he's lost his confidence. I can only hope that he gets back because he was so clever and incisive when he was at Dortmund the first time. But he just looks an empty shell. He looked like they were trying to force him to be what he used to be, and he's not that. He doesn't even deserve to start on the team as far as I'm concerned. This guy Dembele is everything that he's been billed as. I mean, the guy just looks like a future best player in the world. He just looks like he's got everything you need to be the best. I'm thoroughly impressed by him every time I see him. I do agree that press really that they put on Madrid really put Madrid on the back foot and left them off balance and exposed to a certain extent. I think Dortmund, they have the ability to win this competition in the same way that maybe Atletico Madrid have. I think they've got enough belief in themselves to do it. They've got enough quality. It's just a matter of whether the refs are going to stay out of their way and whether they can rise to the occasion in the semi-final and the final and, have a little bit of luck go their way, which Atletico Madrid have obviously been missing the two finals they lost.
I think people do Atletico a disservice. I think because they've been so successful and they're not so much the big name, they spend quite a lot of money, honestly. But it gives hope to other teams. But the biggest thing I say people with Atletico Madrid is where they found their niche has been that all these top teams have great attacks. And Atletico have had the best defense in Europe for about 3 seasons now. They're clearly the best defensive team in Europe. They've got the best central defense. They defend best as a team. And that's where they're potent, is that their defense is so good and can handle these top teams. And then they're not average team going forward. They're still, like what you say, with Dortmund, they're probably a B-rate team as far as Champions League teams going forward. They're above average. You think about these teams like Dortmund, Arsenal, there's probably a few other teams I can put in that bracket. They don't have anything that they really do so well at an elite level. Atletico Madrid they defend at an elite level, and these other teams don't. And the Atletico Madrid have proven they've done that for so many years. I would even go as far to say, to me, it's disrespectful to compare these B-rate teams to Atletico Madrid. Like, these teams need to build something along those lines because Madrid haven't got the resources of these elite teams. But these teams can't do that in a season.
I was going to say, what do you think about the way James Rodriguez plays in Madrid? Is that help him to cement a place in the starting 11?
The thing is with James, lately we've been hearing a lot of, happy talk between him and Zidane as far as Zidane's trying to be his tough daddy and he's trying to do whatever Zidane can do because that's his idol and all of this stuff and everything. But when I see that guy on the pitch, I don't see the guy that I saw in his first year at Madrid or at the World Cup where he just played. You know what I mean? He just played like he was playing football. This is what I do. I have fun playing football. This is creativity. Just the natural quality of his play was it was there. It was allowed to, he was given license to do his thing and he did his thing and it was very productive and surprisingly productive for how much money they spent and how unproven he was. He was surprisingly productive that first season under Ancelotti. And I don't see that now. I see a guy who's lost his confidence and feels as though he looks like he feels a bit shackled on the pitch with as far as what he can do. And if they're going to play him in the middle three of the 4-3-3, that's why. You've got to have some kind of discipline and defensive responsibilities in that formation. That's not his game. His game needs to be in rotation with Benzema, Bale, CR7, and Morata. There's 5 players that go into 3 spots and they need to rotate CR7 more. He's getting older. They need to rotate Benzema more. He's had a lot of injury problems. That's what I see them needing to do. And in that, he's too good to be the 4th or 5th, guy in a 5-man rotation in 3 spots. I think he's too good for that. So I just don't see him having a long-term future there where he's going to fulfill his potential.
These guys just need to have some more self-respect, man. All this hanging off Zidane's nuts. The guy's benched you. He doesn't rate you. You know, you've got all these other guys ahead of you. You need to go to a team where you can be the main man and fulfill your potential. You guys in his prime. He's like 25 years old. There's no time to be doing this. Like you say, he's lost his confidence. Players that play like James Rodriguez, if that's your skill set, your game's not even based on confidence. It's supposed to be based on arrogance. You're supposed to be an arrogant number 10 that does stuff that's outrageous, and you play with a cockiness. That's what number 10 is supposed to do, and that's what he had. And it's been drained away from him, and he's been put in roles where they can't afford for him to have that arrogance and cockiness. Trying to make him a James Milner, a waste of time. He needs to have some self-respect to leave that team.
Well, I think it'd be better off for him. I mean, when you got these kind of super teams and they select players, I think for a guy like him, he'd be better off going somewhere where he can be the number 10 and playing that role. Then I think you see that player that you described before, that guy who was very creative, that guy played a lot of joy and excitement. That player, I think if he went to a team like Chelsea where he could be that number 10, he could be that playmaker, that guy who everybody depends on, I think you may see that player come out again. But like you said, it's just a choice of whether he wants to make that move away from Madrid and go somewhere else where that he can take on that responsibility. That all depends. If he's at Madrid, he's not going to get to play in that front three role that he needs to play unless there's injuries. That's the only way I can see it. Unless there's an injury to either Ronaldo or Bale, he's not going to get that front three role. Because Morata and he's going to rotate quick back and forth. Depends on injuries. I just don't see it.
And it's interesting too that you brought up Götze earlier, because he's a prime example of a guy that played with a certain level of arrogance, cockiness, had a lot more of a burst. He seemed to have lost his burst a bit. He used to have a nice, quick little burst away from a defender. And we've seen where his career's gone. He's even younger than James. You do this for 2-3 years of your career at one of these big clubs, you might never get back to the level that you were at, or where you were looking to be heading to.
Yeah, I agree. But I think Götze had too many injuries that could have slowed him down too. He's had a lot of different little injuries. And we've seen James have a few too, but not to the extent of Götze. So there may be an athletic cause for some of his decline as far as injuries. But let's move off of that and just discuss briefly, how good is this team, this Real Madrid team now that we're seeing?
I don't think they're very, very good. I don't think they were very good last year. They won it, albeit on penalties, which I always struggle to give a team too much credit for really winning. I don't think they're very good. They just have such a high level of individuals that they fall back on that. As a team, I really don't think they're very good, man. I don't want to criticize Zidane for that. I think he's done a stellar job. But in terms of how the team's built and the players they put together, it's not really a team. The reason why we've got James playing a role that he's playing, as Mohammed is saying, the guy that shouldn't be playing that role, is because they're just trying to, fit all these guys in, these big names and these guys with a lot of flamboyance and these Galacticos, and it's not really a team. It's not really a team. I mean, honestly, I don't think they're very good, but with the individuals, we've seen Ronaldo. He's really not that good an overall player these days. Hasn't been for a while, but he's very good movement and he can finish. And we saw against Dortmund how he got his goal, and I think he got another one that was offside. It was the same kind of play.
Yeah, my worry about them in the big games is the defense. Sergio Ramos, as we know, is a comical defender. He's actually a magician, because only a magician could last this long at the defense of the world's most expensive team and be so bad and giving away penalties and collecting red cards for fun. That's their guy starting, and right behind him is Pepe, who's, he had a little renaissance in the Euros, but essentially he's well past his sell-by date. So they're left with Varane, who's got some great pace, and he had a lot of potential, but maybe playing next to these two guys, Pepe and Ramos has not really helped, especially Ramos has not really helped him. But I think that's their weakness. I think Barcelona adding MTT strengthened their defense. and their weakness, but Madrid didn't do anything about that, and they looked vulnerable to me, especially to that kind of pace that Dortmund came at them with.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we know that it's hard to find really good central defenders. The whole footballing world has struggled with that for a few years. But like you say, they definitely rely more on those guys in the final third being really good, and in the middle they have good guys that can really pass to those guys, and that's what's been kind of effective for them. I think a big factor for their season is Benzema has been struggling with injuries. He didn't look very good against Dortmund to me, a little sloppy at times where you could tell he's not quite up to speed. And Morata, when he's come in, hasn't looked very good himself. He's kind of a very Jekyll and Hyde player that can really give you a 9 out of 10 performance one game and then have 3 games where he's a 3 out of 10. And a team like Madrid, you're not going to last long if you're doing that. So they're going to need one of those two guys to be effective, I think. But Bale's also had injuries. If they've got Bale on form, I think he's the guy that's likely to carry that team more than anybody.
Yeah, I think Madrid are a very, very good team. They're kind of hamstrung to a certain extent because they have to fit certain players in. They're very dangerous going forward, and they're definitely another of the hard team to beat. They'll be able to play them. I definitely think they're one of the top 4 teams in Europe, without a doubt.
They're one of the top 4 teams. I'm just saying, I think their defense is really, they've neglected it, and they've gone a step too far this year, neglecting it. Because like you say, you go all the way across the pitch, they got world-class players at every position, and then you come to centre-back, and you're gonna see Ramos or Pepe there, and it's a problem. It looked like a problem, and even their fullbacks, it looked like there was a problem, like they couldn't handle Dortmund. They looked like it was gonna be a problem handling Dortmund or any team that has the kind of pace Dortmund has, and Dortmund's not the only team with that kind of pace up front. They play PSG, they're looking suspect right now, but they'll get through to the group stage, they'll get themselves together, and I think this coach might take them to another level. And if they're playing up front with Di Maria and Lucas Moura and Cavani and them guys, I'm sorry, that kind of pace is the same as thing that we saw from Dortmund. And you're not looking at A-level teams giving them problems. You're looking at, as you call it, Champions League B-level teams giving them problems. And, when you do that, and we saw it last year when Wolfsburg fought against them in the quarterfinals, it was too easy for Wolfsburg to score against them. So I think that, they got through, but like I say, it's a cup match, so you can scrape through with this kind of exposure. But I think in the league, it's going to cost them in the end. But that said, we're talking about, like I was saying, whether they're the best or the 4th best or whatever. So it's not that big a deal. But we have to criticize them a little bit for not strengthening the centre back position. Anyway, let's switch off that and go to the game that mattered. And that was Tottenham completely suffocating Man City, shutting them down and teaching Pep a lesson. The good thing is that we gave them and taught them a lesson. The bad thing is that we taught them a lesson because Pep is smart. Pep will come up with a prescription to solve this kind of problem that we gave them. And I was very happy with Son. I mean, the guy looks like unstoppable right now. It's only been 3 or 4 game stretch, so I'm not going to get carried away. But the guy looks like one of the most dangerous players in the Premier League right now. His directness, his pace, his skill, his ability to keep the ball under control at top speed. This is the thing that people don't realize is the most difficult thing in football. Keeping that ball under that level of control that you see him at while outrunning the defenders he's outrunning, that is no small feat. Telling you. He just looks good. I don't know why he didn't take the penalty. Maybe he's not the penalty taker, but obviously, I think common sense needs to prevail. The guy's in top form, Sharky, scoring like crazy, give him the penalty. But I don't know. I'm not even going to say anything. We won anyway. But I was just happy that we were that our press from both the forwards and the midfielders completely suffocated them, prevented them from playing their possession game, coupled with the fact that Pep made the mistake of playing Fernando in there, which really hurt them possession-wise and really prevented them from playing that possession game. Can't do that. If he wants to play Fernando, he needs to play him at centre-back. Cannot play him in midfield. Not good enough in his system. So I thought that was Lamela's pressing as usual. He's the best. I think he's the best pressing player in the league, man. Nobody wins more balls in the opposition's half than this guy. He was very good, even though there's passing between him and Son. The two of them gave away the ball way too much in the second half. I will say that. But in general, their running off the ball and their movement and their pressing was excellent, and that really won us the game. Our centre backs look like they've been playing with each other since they were children. They probably have. Danny Rose and Kyle Walker handled City's pace on the wings with no problem. And City didn't have their good game, but that's because they were strangled in midfield. I think probably this is the least possession they've had in a game this season. And more importantly, they didn't have any possession really in attacking positions for sustained periods in the game. Anyway, I'm going on. Tarrier, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's pretty predictable in a lot of ways. When you look at this fixture, one thing you notice is that I've looked at some of the City fans' opinion before the game. They guys made it very clear they'll be very happy with a draw. When you go away to Tottenham and Liverpool these days, or Liverpool even come to you, or Tottenham come to you, those are the teams that you least like playing. Because these guys play with such intensity, and they press you, they make life uncomfortable for you, and they're more physical than all these other teams, these quality teams. Maybe Man United a little more, match them in terms of the size and strength for some guys, and you got Fellaini there for dirtiness, but those guys aren't quick. You look at Ibra, Fellaini, they're slow. You look at Tottenham, Liverpool, all their guys have got great stamina. They run all day, and they're pretty tough dudes. They're not gonna cry about being kicked in it. They're gonna play a rough style of football. So it was pretty predictable in that way. When you have a team that is so willing to pass under any circumstance, and the manager preaches that, and you press at that level, or you're at home, it's very rare you see a team just pass through someone like Spurs in a big game like that. Saying that, when you saw the team sheet, that reinforced that, because we saw Fernando come in for his first start of the season in the Premier League, and if they're gonna pass out the back, and he's the closest guy in midfield to the defense, he's just not really that good. He's not able to come deep and really get the ball, let alone when he does get it, is he able to pass and dribble out tight spaces. The best player on their team was missing, Kevin De Bruyne, so that makes a big difference, because those are the guys where you come and press him and David Silva and Aguero, they're going to play little triangles around you real quick, and they might punish you. But one thing this showed us is that these teams like Tottenham and Liverpool, they really have a chance of winning the league, because it's nothing new. Tottenham did this to some teams last year. Likewise, Liverpool with Klopp. But these teams are showing a little bit more consistency. Obviously, Spurs did show it last season. And they look like favourites. You watch those teams, you can see they can compete at that level. The biggest advantage Spurs have, and it might be their weakness a little bit too, is when you talk about who's the best player in that Spurs team, you ask 10 people, you might get 6 different opinions. They don't rely on one player. You've seen now Harry Kane be injured. They don't rely on one star player so much. They're very much a team. In a lot of ways, they may be the best team in the Premier League as far as the overall team. And when you see games like today, it's such an advantage, because they can attack you from different angles, and they defend so well as a team as well. And it's hard for someone to set up tactically to stop something like that when they're not so reliant on giving the ball to one player to make something happen. Maybe like they were so much with Gareth Bale when he was there, or Modric ticking over things in the middle. You can name guys like Dembele as the best player, Harry Kane, Alderweireld at the back, Wanyama today, and a couple of the other big games so far this season. He's been immense in that, you get these number 10s coming around him, and he just eats them up to a point where they have to just start getting rid of the ball as soon as they see the guy get close, because you take an extra touch, he's gonna push you out the way and take the ball all day.
Yeah, I think definitely De Bruyne was definitely a big loss in Man City, because it's integral to how Pep wants to get them to play. He hasn't incorporated guys like Sane into the team. He hasn't incorporated it in such a way they can come in and he can find a way immediately to get them to play with Sane coming in, to find a different identity to play with him. So I think he'll develop that going forward, but just because it's so recent, I don't think he's had that yet. But in terms of Tottenham, I think you definitely need two guys like the two fullbacks, like Walker and Rose. I think those are definitely two kind of fullbacks that he would love to have in Man City. And I think you definitely going to see him probably come out from one of them at the end of the season, because that's what he's missing at Man City. Two guys are far and that actually push in and play the ball in midfield. Like that's the kind of system he has to play. So I think Rose and Walker are integral to how Tottenham play, because he gives Sissoko and Ericsson space to move inside to they provide the will for Tottenham. So I think the two fullbacks and are definitely integral, are definitely very important to Tottenham and how they play. And I think both of them are excellent today. And along with the two center backs, Alderweireld and the Tongan, are also very important for Tottenham. So I just think the back line and the way they attack and the way the fullback supply with the Tottenham is very, very important in the way they play, and that's why they want to.
But the things that are interesting is like you touched on this lesson it teaches Pep. You know, as I say, when I look at the lineups, I already kind of predicted it before the game. The lineups made it a little, reinforced that a little more. But Gundogan, you know, came back off a long injury. I think he's played the last two games. Pep chose to rest him. I guess the intensity of this game might have not been good for him. But at the same time, the whole point of having Gundogan there is so that when these other ball players are missing, you know, you have enough of those guys to go around. And he's looked pretty good since he came to the Premier League. So, you know, Navas wasn't great. Sterling, you know, despite a hot start, wasn't great. They were missing a little bit of, you know, that elite level of talent and ability in the team. But I think Pep, he's got to adapt a little bit to this passing through teams if he hasn't got the personnel available. It's made it a little too easy for Tottenham today with that, man. I'm not saying go with a long ball, but you can't give the ball away in dangerous areas. You need to give the ball away to Spurs and know you have enough guys back to cover and not make things so easy for them.
But I think when he incorporates the guns again and signing, when he can find ways to incorporate them, I really think Navas is just a squad player for that. Because I don't think he does any kind of penetration and cutting edge to them at all. And he's not very an athletic guy, so he's not a guy who just run around. Like if they had a Sissoko, I mean, that guy's very athletic. He just run around and pick up space at the very least. Navas can give you that. So if you can find a way to incorporate Sane now and then get Gundogan in there, keep him kind of fit and find a way for him to come in there. Maybe let Silva to put him up more in that number 10 role, provide that creativity that they're missing with De Bruyne is on. If they need to do that, then they'll be okay. But you got to find a way to get that time in the next few weeks to be able to come up with a plan to incorporate both of those players into the game plan.
I agree. I don't buy this. Oh, this guy's the intensity. This guy Gundogan played in the Bundesliga. Okay, I mean, this is not like he was playing in Serie A where it's the game, the pace of the game is a lot slower. There's a lot of running in the boot. They do a lot of running. I just really don't think that a guy with his level of skill will have a problem dealing with their pressure.
You got to remember, he was even part of a team that was a belt in Dortmund. He was probably the best player on that team at the time. So I'm sure in training he's used to guys pressing him like crazy. He played on the clock.
That's what I'm saying. He's a general. I mean, so I think they made a major mistake putting in Fernando instead of him. Maybe it would have been a better idea to put in Fernando instead of Kolarov, simply to handle Tottenham's pace. You're coming at you with Son, Dele Alli, and Sissoko. You know, your guys just can't handle that pace. So maybe Fernando can handle it. So maybe from that perspective, but then again, Fernando's passing, Kolarov's passing is key to why he's being played there. So we know that they have an imperfect squad. So Pep has to adapt. We'll see how well he adapts. I mean, he has the reputation, the documented history of adapting. So let's see how well he adapts to this new setback, because he not really have to deal with this kind of playing with a team that has so many weaknesses that can be exploited, this many weaknesses that can be exploited. So it's this is the challenge, and we'll have to see what he does, how he reacts to it, because everybody's now seen what Celtic did, similar thing, and now they've seen the Tottenham do it. So copycats are coming. So he's got to figure out a way to combat this. Let's see what he does.
What's going on with this guy Janssen? I mean, I think it made a lot of sense to play Song And the whole lineup today made a lot of sense for Spurs with regards to who was available. The only surprise was Dier being on the bench, but the other guys at the belly were injured. But this guy Janssen, I mean, I'm not saying he's got an opportunity, but Harry Kane is injured right now. That's what he was bought for. We saw it happen with Soldado. We've seen the likes of Alfonso Alves, Ricky Van Wolfswinkel. Yeah, Ricky Van Wolfswinkel. We've seen some of these guys come to the Dutch league. And what we know is that we have, for every Van Nistelrooy, we have 10 Van Wolfswinkel and Alfonso Alves guys. But, you know, what does it look like for this Janssen guy? Because we've seen guys disappear very quickly. Before you know it, the guy's gone on loan to PSV in January.
You said PSV in January? Look, I'm looking at that guy, Ousmane Dembele, that went to Celtic. And I'm like, we were linked with him and we thought that was the right kind of guy. Because he's a striker, but he's very fast, he's athletic, and he's young enough where if he gets a modicum 20, 25 games this season in all competitions, that would be good for him. And he would be happy with that. So I thought that was the way to go. They went with this guy. I don't know anything about the Dutch league. I don't watch that. I don't follow that stuff anymore. I don't have time for that. And this guy was basically just scoring goals, all kinds of ways. And that's what they went with. But he's a half a step slow for my liking. This kind of guy who plays like this, you have to give him some time. But I agree that when you're a centre forward, it starts to eat away the longer it goes without you scoring one goal. Now, he got a penalty in the cup. That will paper over the cracks for a while. But until you score a goal, even from a header, that's fine. Any kind of goal like that you can score other than a penalty right now in the Premier League or the Champions League, that's going to count and that's going to help him. But you know, I hope he's not. It could turn into Soldado. You know.
Well, my concern right now is when I look at the amount of options you have in midfield, right? You know, Song suited this game perfectly. There's definitely some other teams where you might prefer Janssen in that what we've seen of him, maybe he's a bit more of a, you know, ball to feet guy than Song. But at the same time, Song's very physically gifted and he's keeping the ball under pressure. And then his movement of finishing is so good. To me, why Kane is injured for this time right now, you know, I would probably like to use Song in that position. You know, you've still got Dele Alli that gets in there for goals. And you've got, you know, that allows you to put Lamela and Eriksen back in the team and also have Sissoko. So you're really going to drop one of those guys to accommodate Janssen? It doesn't look likely to me right now. And as I say, like you're saying, things can very quickly just go downhill to a point where the more you lose confidence, the less likely you're going to be trusted to come in and play because you're not playing well because you're not confident.
You know who reminds me of? He reminds me of Dirk Kuyt for Liverpool. Because I think what you're going to see is when I see him play, I see a guy who definitely knows how to play football. He knows in terms of how to put and play his way. He's got a nice touch. I see him lay the ball off for Song. So I definitely think he knows that. But I don't think he's going to be a top-notch goal scorer. I don't think he's going to be a guy you can line up to get a whole heap of goals for you. But if you notice, if he's good in the team, Harder scored a good number of goals. And if you watch him running the play, if you watch him in the box, if you just watch him around, he's created a lot of space for the other players around him. So I don't think you underestimate this guy, the contribution he's made the past few days, in the past few games, these matches, in terms of Tottenham scoring the number of goals they have. I think he's definitely contributed in terms of his movement and his positioning. Maybe not in terms of goals, that maybe not going to be part of the game, but he's definitely a good footballer.
No, that's the thing. I think the reason they chose to go with him is because he knows how to play football. He's an all-round good footballer. Now, whether he can start scoring goals, I have to believe that he can, because if you I really looked at a lot of videos of him and his finishing, and I'm with you, Terry. When I look at these videos, I look at the flow of the game. So I look at game highlights and how he's just generally finishing. He's very, very polished finisher. And I think one difference between what Soldado went through is that at that point in time, Tottenham were not creating a lot of chances. They really weren't creating a lot of chances in general. And the way he played and the movement he had was not the type of striker that they wanted or needed or were geared towards, should I say. I think in this situation, he's very similar in his movement as far as trying to get goals. He's similar to Harry Kane. What I would like to see him do more actually is run at people with the ball on the edge of the box to get his shot. I really would like to see him come out a bit wider when we have the ball, come out a bit wider and try to get the ball, especially on the right side of the field, so he can cut in his left foot because he's left-footed. I would like to see him do that a lot more. I'd like to see him make those diagonal runs from right to left a lot more. And I think that his issue right now is his movement, and he's too much trying to be a target guy. He needs to start moving more. And I think look at how Son's playing when he's playing at that position and try to get some more movement in. He needs to be intelligent. Part of being an all-round good footballer is knowing how to adapt. He needs to be more intelligent with his runs and the way the stylist play it. Figure out that even though we have all these players, these guys, Eriksen and Lamela, put in good crosses, and you're a cross guy, but they also put in through balls. You've got to get on these through balls. You've got to do that more. And he's not fast, but he's fast enough to get in through these through balls if you're running behind and run behind defenders. Definitely believe he is fast enough to do that. So that's what he has to do. But, you know, at the moment, it's not hurting us, but he needs to get on track soon. It's a worry. It's a worry.
Well, you know, he can definitely relate to Mr. Mourinho with his worries because, you know, they played at home today. I would say right now probably the second worst team in the league, maybe the third worst team in the league. And that's the type of game you expect to be thrashing them. I mean, I went and made Ibrahimovic my captain on fantasy football, thinking the guy will at least get a couple goals and a couple assists. And these guys, you know, take a 1-0 lead, and then Joe Allen, of all people, pops up and scores a goal. Obviously, United dominated player with a better team, but they don't look very good to me. The bad form is pretty much continuing. There's definitely a lack of fluidity in Man United right now.
Yeah. It's not impressive. It's not impressive at all. I mean, the best that they have match winners, and that's what's they're surviving off right now. Martial, I mean, it was a bit lucky, to be honest with you, how it got to him. Although a proper footballer would have passed it to him anyway. So let's, you know, take that out of the picture. Rooney's control is shocking, man. So let's just assume that Rooney controlled it, or somebody else got it and they controlled it and passed it to Martial and he buried it. That's why they need to have him on the pitch. They need to have Rashford on the pitch. They have those two guys on the pitch, then it looks a lot better. And Ibra.
It's interesting you say that, Mustafa, because not to repeat ourselves about Jose, but one thing I really want to get you and Mo's opinion about right now is this guy Mkhitaryan. I mean, I don't understand how you have a team that's struggling the way United is struggling to have fluidity, and probably the player that in your team that has the most fluidity to his game and is able to knit things together and transition from the midfield to the final third is a guy that you seem to have you've done what you did to Cuadrado and Salah and De Bruyne, these things. You just throw this guy to the side and you're draining his confidence and you're not playing him, despite the fact that what he brings to the table is clearly what your team lacks.
I think my problem with that night is really no team selection. I mean, you've got to put Pogba in a position where he can have more influence on the game. If it's not on the left in the 4-3-3, it's in the number 10 position and have other guys around him. So I just think he's got to get to a point where I think he's going to have to pick players that are going to make the ball, make Man United play in a much more smooth, much more cohesive way. He's got to get them into a point where they're moving the ball a lot quicker. Because if you're not moving the ball quickly, you're not going to get anywhere. Unless they do something, ping longer balls to the end of playing off of it that way. They really got to get Herrera in there, get Pogba in there, get Mkhitaryan in there, Mata. They need to get those guys in there playing, along with the mix of Rashford and Martial, those guys whip and compete for them. If he's not playing those combination of players, I think they're going to struggle going forward.
And here's another thing. Why is Ibrahimovic playing every single game, including the Europa League? The guy's 34 years old. We know he's a super athlete. We know that. That's why he can even go and start deservedly at Man United at this age and be so effective. But he cannot play. He's not a superhuman. This guy, Jose, does the same thing every time. He just bleeds these people out in the first half of the season and thinks he's just going to limp over the line.
And
he needs to rest this guy, man.
You're right. And again, it comes back to the fact that you should be able, against the second worst team in the league right now, to put Rashford up front, who's on form and playing well. You have Mkhitaryan there to add a bit of creativity that you lack when Ibra's off there. And then you've got these guys like Martial and you've got Juan Mata. You've got a bunch of guys there. You should be able to compensate. But you don't want to play Mkhitaryan. You don't really want to use him. You want to use your guys like Fellaini and all these guys. And then you want to use Rooney as well. You're still persistent with trying to use Rooney. Like you say, he's very lucky because he made a bad decision not to pass that ball. His control is poor. And lucky for him, he got tackled and the ball went to Martial. But there you go. You're right about that. You said it before with Chelsea, where you said about the season after they won the league, that was part of the issue because he burnt guys out the year they won the league. And we saw it, says Fabregas especially, because the year they won the title, Fabregas was the best player in the league up until January. And the second half of the season, he was terrible because his legs are gone. Doesn't look like he's recovered since then.
Yeah, Ibra's going to be in for a tough second half of the season. That's for sure. He needs to go with Rashford. Rashford is hot right now. Why aren't you milking the guy as hot? You know, that's one thing that Alex Ferguson was really on point about. When somebody was hot, he put them in a team and he rinsed them out for 3 months. And then when they started cooling down, the next guy was hot, rinsed them out. And he used to do that a lot, man. Because that's how football is.
Right.
That's how football is now. Nobody's just going to keep their form like on fire for the whole season. And once in a blue moon that might happen, like with Suarez. It was maybe the last time somebody did that. But really and truly, even if you look at that, there was probably stretches and patches of games where he didn't score. So you're not going to be on fire like this for so long. This guy, Rashford, looked like he's got a golden touch right now. It's not always going to be that way. So you want to milk the guy now, as far as I'm concerned. You want to play him as much as possible and give Ibra that rest. He doesn't need to be playing in the League Cup and the Europa Cup. At least, anyway, that's that. You know, let them keep doing that, man, because it's better for my team.
I think Mourinho has come to a point where, I mean, he's a champion. Everybody recognizes that, but the way he ended at Chelsea and the way he's going at Man Utd, I'm not saying he has a lot to prove, but he's in a difficult circumstance, and he has to definitely show that he can't fail 2 times in a row. And so that'll be a big hit for his reputation. So he's got a lot to prove, a lot to show that going forward, that he can change the way this team is playing, that he can get them right and get them moving forward. And he's got to get them qualified for the Champions League at the bare minimum. And they're in a little bit now, so there's no reason to panic. But he definitely has to get them playing a lot more progressively.
Yeah, look. There's going to be 2 managers who are going to be looking really bad at the end of the season and be looking over their shoulder, and it might end up actually being a little bit unfair, because it's possible that the top 6 teams this year could all play really good and it just go down to just very small differences between 4th and 5th. That somebody's going to get left out, and right now, anybody. It could be anybody. I mean, look, City look like the favourites. But I don't know who's the least favorite. Maybe Chelsea look like they're the weakest right now. I don't know. Or Man United. But really and truly, look, after City just got humbled by Tottenham, they don't look as such big favorites anymore. And it could change that quickly. And what happens if they draw the next game against whoever they got? You know what I mean? Or even lose.
Yeah,
then they're in crisis.
It changes real quick.
So
it does. It changes very fast. You're definitely right about that. It could be unlucky. But in United, I mean, this is a United team that has struggled. They haven't got into the Champions League for the last, is it 3 seasons? I mean, so they're not even a Champions League team.
They got into the Champions League.
They got in, they got in 1 year.
Yeah.
But I mean, as you say, they didn't get in last year, and that's the kind of level that they've been at. You know, obviously they've bought better players this year. They have a manager that's supposed to be better. But you're right, these guys, them and Chelsea are the least favourites. And that we all know that stuff can change in a couple games. Everything can look so different, where these teams suddenly look better than other teams now and other teams drop off. like we said, we have to see how City react. Good thing for City is obviously that international break is coming now, so they can kind of forget about it and then come back and regroup.
All right, well, let's finish up, man. Let's finish up the conversation. Talk about big fat Sam Allardyce. Now, first of all, right, this guy I mean, I honestly don't think that this guy is any different to a lot of these old English managers, even the non-English managers. Who knows what they're up to? But this is the way business is done. You know, I love the way they try to act like all of this stuff's supposed to be clean. Like, is there an industry that's clean? Like, it's the same thing. So I'm not surprised. What I'm surprised at was that he was stupid enough to just talk so openly with guys he just met like that. That's what I was surprised at. And I was a little bit surprised that he ordered a pint of wine. Like, that's how the man just drinks so much wine and you're in a business negotiation. Like, it's a bit stupid. That's what I thought was stupid about it. And then the fact that the journalist was going after him, I mean, that's just a joke, man. Them man are not journalists. It's nonsense. Well, there was no purpose other than just to set him up, yo. That was the whole thing. There was no like, oh, they heard something and they were trying to investigate corruption in football. Nah, man, they were just trying to set up big fat Sam, and he stupidly fell for it. I think if it was Harry Redknapp, they'd have got him the same way.
Well, Harry probably would have got a lot more money for doing it, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely the master of it, but you're right. You know, honestly, I'll be real with you. What did this guy say that was so bad? He didn't say anything worth sacking him for. What needs to happen is that they don't want someone that shows those characteristics to be in that position and represent them to the world. But when you break down what this guy said, he didn't say anything. The worst thing he supposedly said was that you can get around those third-party ownerships. We bought a guy that was third-party owned and we got around it. That's the most slightly corrupt thing that he kind of said, which is fact. Obviously, they have been getting around them, and he didn't state that you do that illegally. It might have been a case of him saying, well, you have to buy the player out, the third party. So he didn't say anything that bad. The only thing that's come out of it, as far as English football is concerned, which I don't care about, you know, I don't care for English international football, is the only thing that came out of it was positive, because they were able to reverse their stupid, dumb, idiotic decision to initially appoint the guy. And they got a get out of jail free card when this guy did this, and they got recorded. Because now they have a chance to actually go forward as opposed to stagnating like they were going to do with this guy in charge.
You cannot be the head coach and then talk about ways to get around rules, especially major rules. That being said, I think the way he was just so brazen about it just goes to show that within football, these kind of discussions being had is just a normal thing. It's in no surface, and the amount of money being passed around that's sitting underneath the table and being backhanded with these coaches, players, and agents. Just this fact, the surface of what's going on, then it's just truly amazing. It's like a glimpse into what the real world of football is, basically, or what these revelations are. Because this is what everybody does. This is not just unique to Sam said. He's just more brazen about it. So I think that's one of the reasons I probably didn't hire Harry Redknapp at FA, because they were fearful and probably knew that probably they could do something exactly what Sam did. So, you know, as a Liverpool supporter, this guy used to love talking shit about Liverpool, especially about Liverpool managers and just talking shit in general. So I'm kind of, you know, I'm not sitting at shit for the guy, but, you know, everybody probably does it. It's probably something unique to everybody. I mean, there's probably levels to it. You know, it's probably more brazen than other people, but yeah, this is just a glimpse into what goes on at all levels of football. I guess it just depends on what the amount of money involved. But
the thing is, English football is international level. It's a running joke. This is another joke to add to the running joke. And it's horrible. You know, these guys aren't doing anything. The guys they're appointing are not doing anything innovative and anything that's going to, you know, get these guys to be any better than they've been. And all that's going to continue is going to be the same thing. Who are these guys going to appoint? I keep hearing Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger's not taking that job. He might take the job when he retires from Arsenal and do that for a couple of years, and then you might see something different because he at least likes to play attacking football and will give players a little more freedom to go forward rather than this boring crap that we've been seeing. But, you know, they played out of that. Who they got there? They got Southgate coming in for the next 4 games. You know what my prediction is? Southgate's going to do well in these stupid qualifiers enough. He's going to get enough results, and they're probably going to appoint Southgate permanently. I've already seen a couple articles saying, "Oh, he's the man we should have always got, the perfect gentleman." I mean, this guy's managerial record is rubbish. It's a joke. Even with the under-21s, he was rubbish. So this is what they're going to do. It's what they're going to continue to do. And, you know, they're going to do the next wave of great youngsters they have, which is like Rashford, Sterling, and whoever else they got there. They're going to be in the same boat that Gerrard and John Terry and all these Paul Scholes and all these players are in how many years ago. It's a never-ending cycle of nonsense, and that's what's going to happen. So, I mean, the actual fact of changing manager doesn't mean anything other than it's just another story.
Yeah, if they go with Southgate or Gary Neville, all these freaking nobody loser guys have never done anything in management. Yeah, and why would Arsene Wenger lower himself? Why would he? I don't know why he would. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they offer him some expensive cheese. You never know. But, I mean, no. There's no reason, man. They should go hire Van Gaal or Hiddink or somebody professional. Maybe not Van Gaal.
Van Gaal, I mean, after what he did, that would be a terrible appointment. But with Van Gaal, have them playing worse football. Don't get me wrong, Allardyce isn't the same guy he was at some times in the long ball. And we've even known through the days he's always had a Koch or John Kayev. But generally, he's not going to get these guys playing football where they're going to be that much better than they've been. And we know that already. These English players, when they step on the pitch with the England shirt on, they're a shadow of themselves. They lack confidence. I mean, this is the same guy that throughout the first and only game he had, he did the same thing as what he did worse than Mourinho. He said Rooney's not going to play in midfield, and then we saw the first game Rooney was playing mostly in his own half, and then the whole game went through Rooney. And we know how bad of a player he is right now in doing that. At least Mourinho stuck by his word for 5 games before he made that change. So, as you say, it's just completely uninspirational, these appointments. And I very much expect another uninspirational appointment.
I don't think they're going to go foreign again. So.
Yeah, they don't seem to want to go foreign. That's why they went with Allardyce, which is stupid. Like you say, there's enough foreign guys out there that they could go with, man. I know this is not a subject we were going to talk about, but you know, the guy that I always criticize and I clown, I want to take this opportunity to give him some credit. Mario Balotelli, he's led his team to the top of Ligue 1 right now. He scored another goal. I think he's got 4 goals in 5 games, and he's led his team to the top of the league. So I want to shout out Balotelli. I'm happy to see that he's looking like he's being successful down there. Maybe that's what he needs, and long may it continue.
Mohammed, what's your thoughts on Balotelli? I know he's one of your favourite players of all time.
Yeah, well, before I get to that clown Balotelli, I'll say probably the only guy who could manage England and get them in any kind of cohesive success would probably be Ferguson, but he would never do it because he's a proud Scotsman. So in terms of Balotelli, I mean, the guy's a clown. The guy admitted to not training properly. They're not training hard. He's not a professional. So I'm happy that he's having some success at Nice. I mean, he's a big fish in a small pond. But if he was to go to another team where he would have to, or a bigger team where he'd be responsible for scoring goals, responsible for coming to training and playing hard, would he turn up and without that pressure on him, would he turn up and show up and contribute and make success? I doubt it. So, I mean, I'm happy for him, but, I mean, we'll see how long this continues. If he has 16 goals and they qualify for Champions League or Europa League, I'll give him credit, but this is just a short term. We'll see what he does between now and then.
It's short term, but what I would say, and I've not watched the games, I've watched the highlights, like his player highlights over those games. I've watched them. I watched some of them today. He actually got sent off today, and it wasn't his fault. He got 1 yellow card for taking his shirt off, and the second one, a guy tried to step to him, and he just stared the guy down. The guy tried to put his head towards Balotelli, and Balotelli just looked and laughed at him, and the referee gave them both yellows, and he got sent off. But he didn't deserve that. But one thing I'll say is this, man. There's some players, and I've said it about Balotelli for a long time. As bad as he's in a top team and the lack of intelligence and all the things I've listed it before that he lacks and what he's not good at and how unprofessional he is, he's a guy to me that needs to go to those teams where he can kind of be that main attacking threat, give those teams some quality in terms of when he has the ball at his feet and his shooting ability from the edge of the box, like he scored a goal today, that those teams otherwise never possess. You look at Arsenal today playing Burnley. Now, at Burnley, you need to run around, but if Burnley had a guy like Balotelli up top, those few times they got near Arsenal's goal, he's going to provide a threat that no player on Burnley can provide. And what I think is best for him is that he stays in these kind of situations. He plays for these smaller underdog teams, and he's their outlet as far as a guy that's unpredictable. They don't need a guy to be consistent. They need a few moments of brilliance over the course of a season, and they could overachieve based on that. I think that suits him most.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that, man. So let's go. Let's see what he does, man. Because we saw Ben Arfa, he put in a whole good year at Nice, and now look at him, he's right back to acting like a fool and being unprofessional. So maybe he needs to go back to Nice. But then again, Balotelli's there, they're probably not good for each other. So that might be a mistake if he was to go back there.
Accommodating two of those guys is a little, that's a little risky, man.
My last word on Balotelli to all the Balotelli apologists is that would you want him on your team?
Well, of course not. As I said, I've been. Everyone knows how critical I've been of the guy. I predicted the guy was going to be a terrible signing for Liverpool. People linked him with Arsenal that's after the Euros, and I said, hell no, I don't want that guy, man. I'd rather Jonathan Walters than that guy. And I mean, it's completely sincere. I didn't want that guy at all. I still don't. But what I do want to do is take opportunity to talk about his success. You know, and the fact that he started off well, he's been effective, his team's top of the league, he's scoring goals, he's carrying the team in terms of the attack, and I think that needs to be saluted because, end of the day, as much of a clown he is, I think we all, for obvious reasons, we all want him to actually be a success eventually, and if it's at a club like this and he can have some small success, so be it. You know, there's guys like Matthew Letizia who are, to me, much better players than Balotelli is. But they were at small clubs and they were legends at small clubs because they brought these moments of brilliance. I mean, if he can do this against PSG a couple of times a year and score and they beat PSG, that would be great. You'll love to see him score a 30-yard cracker against PSG to beat PSG.
And something to be noted is that this Nice team was just taken over. They got billionaire owners and these guys are spending money. So you expect to see them spend more money. So I don't know how long they're going to be this underdog team, but it's a chance for him. He got in with them at the ground floor. It's a chance for him to solidify his place and mature. And when they do get all these other players so that they're not so reliant on him, he can still be a main man, one of the main men instead of the main man, and he can be a professional and he can be like, okay, I did succeed. So that can happen. I don't know. I'm not really, betting on the guy doing it because he's let us down so many times, but like you said, man, the guy must have suffered some awful abuse his whole childhood. Well, we want him on my team, but if he can become a solid professional, man, that would be great, man. I'm happy for him. So we'll end the show on that positive note. Salute to Super Mario at Nice. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Tarier. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Check us out again. www.footballtalks.net is the website. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Just search for Football Talks. Futbol, spelt the Spanish way, and then Talks, Talks. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.